Alrighty, so what I have here today is a 4th gen iPod Classic. This is, if we take a look in the settings, flash modded, and it is booting to Windows. So the reason that this is interesting is if we take a look in here, we could see that it uses the cheaper SD card adapter, the compact flash SD adapter. So this adapter here generally does not work once you plug it in. It is not plug and play. It will not just boot up and reset easily with Windows. If you have a MacBook or you're on Mac OS, that's a different story. It did work for me on Mac OS, and that's actually how I used it for about 4 years. I previously had this SanDisk card in there, and this is still formatted to Mac OS, but I wanted to give it a shot. So this is a 128 gigabyte Samsung Evo into an adapter, into the SD to CF adapter, and upon plugging it in, just as usual, it does not reset cleanly with Windows. So what you actually have to do is you have to rebuild the MBR whilst it's resetting in at your Apple Devices program. So in just a moment here, I'll show you exactly what I did. Our 4th gen classic iPod working with that cheaper compact flash adapter. What we need to do is rebuild the MBR whilst Apple Devices is resetting the iPod. So what I go ahead and do is plug in the iPod, make sure it's recognized by Windows, it pops up. If you pre-format the card, normally it'll actually recognize it and you could open it. If your card isn't pre-formatted or it was formatted in Mac OS, it's likely going to pop up and just kind of recommend that you format it. That didn't matter for me. Either way, it would work. Then what I would do is I'd reset the iPod in our Apple devices here. So this is the latest version on Windows 11. This is not the iTunes program. This is the separate standalone Apple devices program, and it does work with this. There isn't a installation percentage counter, but it does show you a bar with approximate progress. What I did was I waited for the bar to look about 98, 99% full. I noticed it likes to pause right near the end, so I waited there for a couple of seconds, and then I went ahead and ran the CMD command to reset the MBR. So the reason that this guide is a little different than the one provided in the description is that rather than using a program, I believe the one they had recommended was EaseUS, which is a hard drive management program, we are doing it through the CMD. I took a look for other programs that were similar. I do own a copy of a Paragon hard disk software, and that also did not work for me. So I was able to find a command here that will work in the CMD, and it did work with the iPod. So I'll have this command in the description, but here it is. It's bootsect /nt60, and then where I have G, it's just going to be whichever drive your iPod happens to be, colon, and then MBR. And this goes ahead and it rebuilds your MBR of the iPod. So like I said, I ran that right at about 98, 99% on that bar there. It took a few seconds, and miraculously it worked on the second try. So I only had to reset it one other time. On the second try, like I said, gave it another go, and it worked. Then what it brings up is the plug into the wall screen on your iPod once it works. So you'll know if it doesn't work, it'll tell you do not disconnect, or it'll just keep rebooting. And then if you do disconnect it, you'll get the file error. If it does work, it'll tell you to plug it into the wall. I'll have a picture of the FireWire brick, which I personally do not own. So what I went ahead and used was a Kindle Fire charger. That one worked for me. I had tried my PC, a few USB hubs, a OnePlus power adapter. None of those seemed to do it, but the Kindle Fire one for some reason seemed to work. So yeah, that worked for me. I was able to get it done without the program. The new version of the program, I tried to use it, and unfortunately it said that it required a subscription. I had it unformatted for Windows, and I was still able to go ahead and run this command right at about 99%, 98% completion on that bar. It went ahead and booted up afterwards. So that's pretty much it for here.